Hello, and welcome to episode 25 of What If Civilization Started Over. We are continuing with last time we did the New World from 1635 to 1675, from 1640 to 1675. So we're going to do the same 35 years in the Old World now. And we're going to start in Cameroon because they have just completely collapsed. And instead, and three new empires will come out of this. First of all, East Guinea, or East Ghana, will take a large amount of land. A lot of these people were identified as East Ghanaian anyway. The old Cameroon government will have some land, and then the rest will form into this new yellow country over here. And these guys are a monarchy. But, yeah, the last strong state in Africa has just collapsed, which can be very, very, very bad for the prospects of Africa existing long into the future. However, in terms of ideologies, these guys have just become a constitutional monarchy. Their king kind of gave up part of his power. He didn't realize the problems with that until after he already did it, and then the prime minister basically started vetoing everything the king wanted, and so now the king is out of power, and the king is stupid. He did that because he wanted to join the Democratic Alliance, and they said, talk to us when you're a constitutional monarchy, and so he did that, and now he feels stupid for having done so. East Africa at least is trying to resist colonialism, as they can see it happening in the south of their continent. This stuff happened in the last episode, but Kenya actually has expanded in the rest of Tanzania, which is why England didn't take any more of it. Over in East Asia, we're going to see the rise of a few major powers, as the insane levels of division here are not very sustainable, and it's all going to start when India will start an invasion, not into North India, who they're pretty friendly with. I keep calling them North India. I should call them North Burma. Instead, they will start an invasion into Thailand, and also Vietnam should not have their land here. This should be South Burmese. They will start an invasion into Thailand, which will be very quickly over, as they quickly cause Thailand to become an Indian colony, as they kind of want to join their colonialism game, which is something that no non-European country has done so far. But India wants to do that. And this will cause a lot of countries here to realize they kind of need to band together. And Vietnam will become... I'm going to change them back to their old color, actually. Just because of continuity. This is not their old color, but this is the new color. Vietnam will basically say, hey, we should all basically merge into one country. And it should be... Our kings will have equal power, but will remain a constitutional monarchy, with the Vietnamese parliament kind of expanding and having more votes. And Malaysia and South Burma will very quickly join in on this, as they don't value their sovereignty as much as India's lack of sovereignty over them, I guess. They just don't want to be Indian colonies. And another country that will join this is West China. And obviously only monarchies are able to join this, but all of the countries here are monarchies. Another thing we will see is we will see China trying to basically regain their old glory, as their first target will be Taiwan, who is very quickly wiped out. Where have we heard that before? As China will annex Taiwan. And then they will go after Shandong, I'll call this country, which is the old Japanese colony, but they will quickly annex it. And then they will go after Yangtze. However, this will go significantly less well for them, as Yangtze will call on, of all countries, maybe they shouldn't have done this, but they do. They will call, of all countries, they will call on India for support, and India will gladly support them because they don't like the rise of China, how they just quickly conquered two of their neighbors. And Yangtze, with the support of India, is way stronger than China. Without Indian support, they're way weaker. I've been using the wrong brush type. So they'll start taking back their major cities. These guys will basically be doing very well against China. However, things are not going to go perfectly for China for Yangtze and India, because after they start taking this, a lot of other countries are getting worried. But Vietnam is actually going to take advantage of the situation. This is part of Vietnam. As the Indian Thai colony is kind of surrounded by Vietnam now, and they are going to invade into it, as India cannot really navally support them because the Vietnamese Navy controls these islands, and Indonesia is kind of hostile to India's expansion into Thailand. They were considering joining the Vietnamese Union, but decided against it because they wanted to keep their sovereignty. And these guys will annex the Indian colony. However, this will actually help out China as well, as China will be able to start pushing back against Yangtze because India decides to stop supporting Yangtze, instead kind of twisting North Burma's arm into invading, and I'll just call them Burma now. I'll just call them Burma from now on, but they twist Burma's arm into invading into Vietnam with mostly Indian troops, so it's pretty much just Indian troops marching through Burma into Vietnam. And this is mostly for revenge. They don't actually think they're going to be able to get their Thai colony back, and they also realize it was kind of a bad idea to even have that colony. And we're around the year 1670, so this war is almost over, and we'll be done with the East Asian region. But first, Yangtze is going to start crumbling, as I don't know what I call these guys. I'll just call them, I have no idea what I called these. This country, this blue country, which doesn't have a name, Bluetopia. Yeah, I like that name. Bluetopia will start invading into Yangtze to get some land, as India will fully stop any support that Yangtze was getting, and their capital will be captured, and in 1673 they will surrender to the invading powers, while Vietnam is actually holding their own a decent amount against India. However, India is still winning, and they will be forced to sue for peace in 1675, the same year that the war in Europe ends. And just in case you think that North India is the actual beneficiary of this, you're wrong, as they officially... North India, I meant Burma. They are now a vassal of India, having absolutely pretty much no autonomy, just basically being nominally independent, as India has really expanded their influence, and they basically got this territory in exchange for India becoming their overlords. In Indonesia, we will actually see some wars, as Eastern Indonesia wants to become the hegemon of the whole country, despite being significantly less populated. But they do have an advantage, which is that their navy is significantly better, as they will start an invasion into Java, and Java's army is better than East Indonesia's, but Sumatra is not willing to go touch them with a 10-foot pole in terms of helping them. So many naval landings are going to take place, and no matter how many times the Javanese army pushes them out, another naval landing takes place that they just can't prevent. And the capital is seized, and at some point the government will die, and at that point they will be fully annexed. This is the only annexation that happens in this episode. However, what we will see is that a deal will be made between them and England, as England is seeking to expand their influence, and they will make a deal with Eastern Indonesia, giving them a lot of trade rights in Eastern Indonesia, and we're going to mark this as an alliance. These guys will make an economic and military alliance, so it's like an all-around alliance, and it's the pink alliance because they're both pink. But basically, England and East Indonesia are good friends, and East Indonesia is kind of giving England a lot of control over their country, partially because England is threatening them and twisting their arm into doing so. England might have also helped them invade into Java. In Australia, the East Australian country, and this is while Galicia is doing their stuff over here, we'll do this. While the North Australian country, which I forgot to give a capital to, but you can tell where it is, I'm not going to even draw it in. The North Australian country will do that, and Galicia's colony will actually be all of Western Australia. Okay, and then in Eastern Europe, Russia, or specifically Ukraine, wants to revive the Russian Empire, as although they are a democracy, they can still elect people who are crazy, and they elect a person who wants to be a dictator, but first feels like he needs to gain prestige. And so they will invade into this Muscovian country, and basically take them over, destroying their democracy and replacing it. It's weird, like a democracy on democracy violence, but yeah. They will completely destroy their democracy and annex them into the Ukrainian country. And I realize this is the exact same color as Scandinavia, so, you know what, it doesn't matter because they're also going to annex Russia, and I'll just say they take on the color of Russia, as they have pretty much become Russia, as they still claim to be a democracy, but in reality they are a dictatorship, having completely erased any semblance of democracy from their country. And they're trying to restore Russia to its former glory, except that it's Ukraine now. And honestly, like, not much more is going to happen in this episode. I might make this a ridiculously short one. Yeah. Oh, but I did want to say one thing. Yeah, so it turns out that Galicia has absolutely no heirs. However, they do have... However, the next heir of their country, through marriages, happens to be the king of Burgundy. And so, at the end of this episode, the king of Burgundy will inherit the throne of Galicia. I'm actually going to keep them as two separate countries. I haven't decided who wins a war that comes out of this. Burgundy and Galicia will officially have the same monarch. They're not the same country because they have different like nobles and stuff, but they have the same monarch. And that will lead into the next episode. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.